YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Let's put, guys. Let's put. Raising power, boots on the ground. Program for you. Valid, terrible information. Share the damn line. Smash that emoji button. We apologize for the late start. We'll be fired up, guys, and we're ready to go. Lots of information for you folks, guys. Bringing the fight card. We are ready to go. You're going to want to sit back. You're going to want to brace back. You're going to want to strap yourselves in. Brace it over, guys. Bring us up so the folks can sit. Well, you're going to want to bring your cokes, bring your popcorn, and sit back. Guys, it's going to be very right tonight. Great to see each and every one of you joining us around the world. You're joining us on Twitter. You're joining us on LinkedIn. It's good to have you, Julian Miles, Debbie Hohencourt. I see Conrad, Karen, Sharon, everyone, Sharon. I see Roy and Ward is here. What, folks? Henry, good to see you as well. Great to see each and every one of you wherever you are joining us from. Poliana Schultz, we see you there. Apologies across the board, folks. We apologize. There we go over to YouTube. You're all hearing, folks. And we were doing interviews right down to the wire. It's that kind of night, folks. Steve Esteban, good to see you. And Roxanne, Gary, good to see you as well. Charles Nelson, we see you. Seymour George, how are you doing out there? Erica Hooper, Minty and Paulette Dean, Shauna Fortune. You're not going to want to go anywhere, folks. We're going to hear tonight from Amanzo Walton Desir. We're going to hear from Roysdale Ford. We're going to hear from Commissioner Vincent Alexander. A number of folks, guys, we got for you this evening. Good to have you, Alison Cortez and Chevron Glasgow. Good to have you. I see Reynald Warren is here too. Good to see you too. Everton Blackwood. Good to have you and Janet Daly. Good to have each and every one of you. We trust that you guys are great. We trust that you guys are well. Harris. Pace and power, guys. We're fired up. We're ready to go wherever you are watching us from. There might be a taxi driver somewhere in Guyana tonight. You might be a security guard. I see. You might be watching us from the job as we speak. On your way to work, on your way home. We're so thankful. You might be home, a housewife. You've checked off the kids. You've tossed. What's your side for the night task? Wife, your side for the night. And you're tuned in. Welcome to each and every one of you guys. Lots and lots of things happening locally. We think you guys ought to know about, and we've been procuring information. We think we're set. We're fired up. Apologies across the board, folks. Gil Ali Cock, Obi Chester, Ronaldo, Kansas, guys. We are fired up, and we are ready to go. Good, folks. Fired up and ready to go. Number of things, guys. A number of things to share with you. Yep. Ayatollah Khomeini, we can talk about him. We can talk about GECOM. Yep. We can talk about some things happening, folks, in Guatemala. We can talk about some local robberies as well. And some folks making waves. I see some art there. We can talk about that too. We can talk about that too, folks. But for the opener. Don't go no place, folks. Strap yourselves in. For the opener tonight, guys. For the opener, I told you. We'd have Amanzo Walton is here. Amanzo is back from a few days overseas. She still has her accent. She still has her tan, folks. She's looking well. We asked Amanzo about what the PAP has been doing. Thanks, guys, with the representation of the people at with Roper. She said this thing is problems. What them boys doing with Roper is problems. They have sinister motives. That is what Amanzo Walton is here told us. Them boys got some sinister motives. And then, folks, there's also, in addition to that, folks, there is the National Registration Act. Problems when combined, folks. These things are happening in isolation, you know. The gerrymandering, we'll see they're doing with the list, we'll see they're doing with the Roper, we'll see they're doing with the Natural Registration Act. They are not in isolation. They're all working together for a specific purpose. That's what we're going to talk to you folks about tonight. Andrew Cuthbert, that's what we're going to talk to you about. Sharon Castleton Edwards, red flags right away. Colin Osborne, red flags, red flags. And that's the opener, folks. Amanza on Roper and on the National Registration Act. And what is at stake here? What is at work? Amanza Walton Desir, Member of Parliament.
Our primary concern is the rush with which these amendments are being passed. And as we pointed out in the National Assembly, they are so weighty that they needed to be sent to a select committee for consideration. That was our first issue. I think it is important for us to understand that the Representation of the People's Act is a piece of legislation that touches and concerns the electoral landscape in Guyana and the ability of the people of Guyana to elect their representatives in a fair, transparent, and credible elections. And so I think given that importance, we said to the colleagues on the other side, we believe that this should be sent to a select committee. Of course, what the PPP does is to obfuscate matters. They are saying, oh, it was out there for consultation, etc. We have to understand that the process of parliamentary scrutiny is different from public consultation. Now that public consultations have taken place, and let me say that we have had our issues with what the consultation looks like, because the consultation that we were invited to was a 3-hour presentation, 2.5 hours for which the Attorney General spoke. And then when our representatives tried to make representation, they were curtailed. So that was their idea of consultation. Having said that, coming into the National Assembly, there is a provision that we can send these bills to a select committee where they would be scrutinized clause by clause, and we would understand the rationale behind the pieces of amendments. Those records, and I suspect that this is why the PPP did not want them to be sent to a select committee, Sharon. Those records are there. They are kept in the Hansard, and the verbatim records are secured for historical purposes, so that at any point in time, any citizen of Guyana could go to look back to understand what the intention of the Parliament was when it made this particular amendment. I suspect that they don't want that level of scrutiny. And so, of course, using their one-seat majority, they powered it through the National Assembly, and it is now law. For all intents and purposes, replete with the flaws and the shortcomings that we pointed out in the debates.
Thanks, Amanza. Here's some power. We're going to hear from Amanza again before the evening is out, folks. But we told you all, little by little, we migrating, guys, to YouTube. You're going to want to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get the news, the facts, the valid and credible information first. Subscribe and press that notification button as well as you folks are at this. Good to see you still subscribe. Les is subscribe. Andrew Griffith is subscribe. Sheila Hazel is subscribe. Ken Ford Barney, what about you? I know God is subscribe. I know God is subscribe. Andy William, Lisa Remy, what about you? Ensure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that notification button as well. Bringing you in from around the world tonight. Coming up, folks. Coming up. We can talk with Royce Dilford. Coming up, we can talk with Vincent Alexander as well. But first, folks, from around the world, siblings disagreeing in Iran are disagreeing in Iran of Iran's supreme leader. She has a contrary view on how things are going there. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. His sister, remember there are lots of protest things that's happening in Iran currently. It all stemmed from the killing of that protester, that young woman there. And things seem to have been spiraling out of control ever since the brutal crackdown on protesters. And now, not only a former president, this sister of the Ayatollah saying, I like what you are doing. Correct course. That's what we tell the people tonight. You all remember when Dr. Jagan's daughter, Chelly Jagan's daughter, wrote that against the PPP about how they're living big and lavish lifestyles, and that wasn't consistent with her father's vision. You know, her father's were real Jewish things. You see? Shut him out into the corner. You know, you reap what you sow. I want you to know that. You reap what you sow. You see that on the bicycle. Now, his sister is saying you're going in the wrong direction. But brother, you're going in the wrong direction. Will he listen? Will he listen? It remains to be seen. Region, folks, around the region. In Guatemala, the Golden Vice President is the same. In Guatemala, they have jailed Otto Perez 10 years for corruption. He's a former president in Guatemala. They have jailed the vice president as well. 10 years and a whole host of people in Guatemala for corruption. Folks, look, you know, at the end of the day, this talk if we don't walk it. We talk if we don't walk it. We talk with governance. We talk rule of law. How they work it out for me? Where LG said, where's it over? A GECOM today. Where's it over? How's that over? With governance, rule of law, and all those things. It sounds fanciful. Just like the 16 day of activism, a good international concept, bringing awareness to what's happening with gender-based violence. But these folks, we got there. No. 16 days hypocrisy. 16 days of hypocrisy with that. But in Guatemala, the people act differently. They go about things differently. In Guatemala, folks, no. They're not like us. They mean business. You want me corrupt? All right. Jail Tech 1, Jail Tech 2, Jail Tech 10. That is what is happening currently in Guatemala. Yep. You better walk right. You better straighten up and fly right. But in the 592, them boys ain't finishing, you know. Folks, we're in the 592. Them boys ain't finishing. Right? But the good thing for them, Father. The good thing for them. That's why I want you. How is it going? You show you a lot of things start. You don't have to show you it going. Now, they've been prosecuting a number of our activists, a number of our politicians, a number of our supporters. They're still trying with Carol Smith-Joseph. We saw now Carol continues to be politically harassed. Who's sharing the live tonight? Nicola Dewsbury, is it you? Diane Bay, is it you? Facebook user Yolanda Thomas, is it you? Who's sharing the live tonight? Political harassment. Chief scrutineer, folks. Carol Joseph. She was summoned by Soko. There's so many things, so many agencies prosecuting this last election, man. You gotta see what happening right now. Bare confusion at GECOM. Brace it over by GECOM. You got matters in the magistrate's court. You got matters in the high court. Matters before the court of appeal. Heading to the CCJ. It's how many people prosecuting this one election, man. Soko summoned her. Y'all know Soko gonna look. You know, y'all know when Soko started arresting people, all the law associations across the Caribbean is coming right to them. Y'all know Soko gonna look. I wanted to tell Carol, you know, she gotta get counsel, gotta get counsel. I wonder, but we know Carol Joseph is a stalwart, and she knows how to go toe-to-toe with the jagabats and trench crappers, the tadpoles, and the cricketers. She understands the terrain, and we stand with our sister this evening. On the political harassment, you think you understand Julia Lewis, what's happening here? And Chinsing Henry, Maxine Still, you think you understand? Orden Robinson, what's at play here? There's them boys playing out all the cards. And just now they won't have anything left. Like how many sisters said, y'all better correct course while you still got time. Laverne Joseph, Mavis Davis, well, they better correct course while it is yet day. For the night cometh when no man shall correct course. Facebook user Mona Moses, you better tell that. You read a psalm and then that's the end of it, you know. We read a sermon, then that's the end of it. Junior, yeah, Thomas, Will Brown, Dennis London Welchman, the Chinese power. And we're having it. We're not going to have it. We're not going to have it. We trust that you folks are well. You're joining us around the world tonight. The different. That's what we're in the calendar. Some of us know too quickly, folks. Robin Murray, we know too quickly. When it's Carol, the call by some of us. But you know, Carol is a scholar. And she's attitude for standard advances on all fronts. On all fronts. Keep on your thoughts and prayers. Keep on your thoughts and prayers. And when we say boots on the ground, we hope you are tying your shoelaces. Ready to go, fire up! Ready to go. It's not a real place. Gala is not a real place, folks. It is not. It is not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. Don't fool yourself. Don't come around with funny. Don't do it. Gala is not a real place. We tell you folks all the time. We're different, Owen Don. Isabella Butters. We're different. We're different. That's why. Just want to do business. Just want to do business. They just want to have the best buys for consumers. But everybody's desperate now. Look how tight things tight. Look how hard the times hard. Them boys cut through Best Buy roof. You see that? They ain't going to put on the dead, you know, the layman so on through the roof. No. Them boys going to take out stuff extra. Cut through Best Buy roof. Cart off with money and appliances. You know it's Christmas. You know it's Christmas. When people fashion appliances, flat screen TV, blender, food warmer, right? 8% care up, them by say. Them prostitutes, Royston says. 8% care up, they went through Best Buy roof. Factory iron. You see? Factory, what do you call it? Pressure cooker. All manner of things. Fetch away from Best Buy. Who's sharing the damn life for us tonight? Who will smash that emoji button so that others get valid, credible information? Thanks, guys. You think this is it? We told you. We told you. Look. You saw them went in Best Buy here? Huh? I hope the police find them. Them boys went on the seawall. They had a caravan. Let's get them done. Stocks we got for deal with different. Them boys and cut through the caravan roof, you know. Like how they do Best Buy. Right. Them boys fetch the whole caravan. Them boys want breaking in private. Seawall to public. Them boys cart off the whole caravan. Yeah. Them boys desperate. Nothing else circulating. You know, Cecile, Samuel, Gloria Gordon, Dennis Miller, Henry and Anthony. If you live in this economy, you know nothing is circulated. And at least little crumbs used to fall to the bottom. In days of old, you see? In the time of the good life, little crumbs used to fall, and then boys got a little something. But see now, nothing going down there. Them boys taking everything upstairs. Huh? You know, the crumbs used to fall at least from the master's table to the dogs. No, boys kick away the dogs now. They even want the crumbs. So them boys getting desperate. Cut through Best Buy roof. You see? They don't only fetch away the money in the appliance, you know. Them boys fetch the zinc too. They fetch the zinc as well. And then they pass from by the seawalls. And they clean up. Them boys clean up the whole caravan. You think they're breaking in for gas bottle, the little pastry, the little leftover, what do you call it, barbecue and so on, salchipapa, cheese please and so on. No. Them boys don't want the whole, them boys fetch the whole caravan. The whole caravan. So if you see a caravan pass you, just know it could be that. You see? An ambulance fight passed me the other night. Jackie Baird, Jamal Aziz, you know, strangely, I didn't think about the patient. I said, I wonder how much chicken they're carrying there. We're different in this country. I started wondering how much I started looking at the wheel, how low the wheel is to the road, you know, to tell how much weight they carry. If it's 100 pounds, a 200 pounds, a 300 pounds. I said, I wonder how much chicken they carry there. Right? I wonder how much chicken they carry there. True story. Right? And as a typical news person, I see the ambulance blazing past. I start following the ambulance at a distance because I want to go with the action happening. Follow the ambulance way up the East Coast. Sirens blaring, you know. Then I see the ambulance just pull in at the fire service, the fire station by Melanie side. Ambulance, sirens blaring. Nobody inside. Then by this one meet back quick. We different. I feel better than the chicken inside. Nobody inside. Sirens going. Then by this one meet back quick, clock out, and head home and watch Wednesday. True story. So they clean up Best Buy. They clean up the money changers by America Street. They clean up the caravan. You see that? There's a lot of cleaning up happening. Plenteous cleaning up happening, folks. That's what I'm telling you all. Valid, credible information. Valid, credible information. You see? Learn for Matty. Hear for yourself. Valid, validio, credible information. Valid and credible. That's what I'm telling you. Respect and manners. Respect and manners to the ABCU country. It's real Christmas. When I start saying respect and manners to the ABCU representatives locally, you know it's Christmas. It's like this morning, I found myself talking. Was it this morning or was it yesterday? I'm going about the other one, Brocker Ben. It was last night with the MMG, yesterday's program. You know, now I find myself, you know, saying good things now about the ABCU ambassadors. It's real Christmas time. Peace and goodwill towards all men. Desmond Harris. They don't come over because they're circling back. To one of them at the end of the program, are circling back. Steffi Brown, Desmond Harris, I tell you, Royce coming up. Don't go nowhere, share the damn like smash emoji, but let me get on the road. Royce coming up. Vincent Alexander coming up. I'm talking Amanza again. Amanza Water is here coming up. Don't go nowhere, you want to share the damn like smash emoji, but who vex? We outside, folks. Who vex? We outside. But here they say no. They want the PPP, you see, to put in place more initiatives to root out corruption. Well, if they want the PPP to root out corruption, it goes to say, I think the phrase is ipso facto. It goes without saying that there is corruption because you can't root out what isn't there. Right? You can't root out what isn't there. Is somebody writing this down? Is somebody making some notes? You can't root out what isn't there. The ABCU countries want the PP to put more initiatives in place to root out corruption. Anybody making notes tonight? I feel like a lecture. I feel like a teaching again. It goes to say that there is corruption. You see? But how can Satan cast out Satan? You see how especially I match you. I'm in Matthew on a Thursday night. Is it Thursday? How can Satan cast out Satan? How can the PPP? How can corruption root out corruption? Anybody writing down this? Nuggets falling tonight. Nuggets. You see, I'm a Prophet Brown mode. Nuggets falling down. How can Satan cast out Satan? That's the question I asked him. They want the PPP to put in place initiatives to root out corruption. Well, look how the vice president now got to resign. Right? Look how he got to resign. 95 charges, gone. You see? Look how Kwame now got to give up. Darmilal, first week Darmilal come in. Family company getting body. First week. How can Satan cast out Satan? You know, if I wasn't so certain that today was the 8th day of November, I think it was April 1st. I don't think it's All Fool's Day. Right? And coming after this will be I think it's April Fool's Day. How can Satan cast out Satan? But they gotta say what they gotta say. They want They want them to root out corruption. And this is something we heard from Sarah Lynch last year on International Anti-Corruption Day. She asked me the same thing. Where are your measures? All we could point back to is what David Granger did. Starting from the anti-money laundering and anti-financing of terrorism, a bill and such and so forth. You see, bringing we off on the blacklist from here, bringing we off on the blacklist from there. That's all they could have pointed to. They couldn't point to nothing 123 years of the PPP. All they could have pointed to is what David Granger did in his tenure. And now they're begging them, 3 years in, they're begging them, oh, you have to put me to shame. You know we install y'all. Don't put me to shame. They're begging them for their initiatives. Well, folks, one of the three here going to betray me tonight. Watch and see. Watch it. Already done. One of the three. Right, you can't let me go whistle. She talk about lists. An acceptable list. We can circle back to it. One of the three. It's always one in the miss, you know. You think it's me to be outside? I don't know. It's one right inside. One right inside is me the Trojan horse. Talk about the list being acceptable, and as far as she knew, the list is acceptable, and the information she has been given suggests the list is acceptable. Respect her manners on this. Telling them boys they got to root out corruption. We know they can do it. Right? But at least we know where y'all stand in relation to them, and that you've seen corruption. That you've seen corruption. Folks, coming up, you want to know where you're going to want to share the live and smash that emoji. You got a story for me? That's the number. That's the number. No time to lose tonight. You got a story for me? That's it. That is it, folks. You got a story for me? That is it. You got some legal problems? Huh? You need your commission of votes affidavits? You need a justice of peace? Alistair Collins firm.
For all your legal document needs and more, the Alistair Collins firm is the place for you. If you are looking to have your statutory declarations done, affidavit of income, affidavit of identity, or guidance replacing your damaged or lost passport or lost license, you need the Alistair Collins firm. They can also help you with tenancy agreements, agreements of settlement, your power of attorney, your last will and testament, and certification of documents. The Alistair Collins firm is located at the Callion Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown between Camp and Waterloo Streets. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of votes to affidavits and a justice of the peace. You can also call them at 649-6410 or 685-6446 or 503-1451. The Alistair Collins firm. Help when you need it.
Yep. That's what's going down, folks. But no, don't jealous Alistair Collins because he business, being seen by thousands. Use the opportunity yourself. Book now for your ad space right there. That's the number. That's the number, folks. That is the number right there. Back to what's happening in the 592. Abiola Clark, Lexi Boss, Gail Leacock, Michelle George, Andrew Griffith. Brace it over by GECOM. Brace it over by GECOM, folks. Strap in. If you get up, forget your popcorn and coke, strap back in. Brace it over by GECOM. The chairman of GECOM College saying, took to the stand of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. And Claudette said, among the many things she said, first and foremost, guys, hold on. Hold on. Among the things she said, right? Among the things she said, she was afraid for her life. I can tell you when. But I haven't seen this much of Claudette thing since she was sworn in as GECOM commissioner. I haven't seen her for this length of time in one place. Since she was sworn in as the chairman of GECOM, I had forgotten what she looks like. Because it's so rare you see the chairman of GECOM. It is so rare. It's like being granted an audience with the Pope. It is such a rarity. You see? I'm not the current Pope, I'm talking about Benedict. It's like being granted an audience with Benedict, the one who resigned. It's such a rarity. I was looking for a long time. It is really hard. Wow. Claudette, come out. She said she was afraid for her life. Y'all remember I've been telling you all. Oh, Leo, we had the own January 6th. Just like the US. We have had our own January 6th. Right here. Guys, do we have it? Do you remember the storming of GECOM? She said when she heard the rockets outside, she thought they were coming to harm her, the PPP. She thought they were coming to harm her. Look at some of the rockets.
This is footage of PPP storm in GECOM, putting the lives of police officers and government officials in danger. Guyana reporters of the opinion that if this act was done by the APNU, they would have been labeled as thugs, criminals, the N-word. But because this dangerous riot was done by the PPP, they call it democracy fighters. But the Guyana reporter must point out that there's nothing democratic about storming a government building, putting the lives of police officers and government officials in danger. This riot happened on March 7th, but what's equally as troubling is that some members of the international community were present. The footage began with members violently pushing their way past officers.
This is unacceptable. This is absolute craziness. They're holding her, claiming they're holding her hostage.
That's all we want to say. That we want to see her. That we want to see
Hear what the chairman of GECOM said. Hear what the chairman of GECOM said to the Commission of Inquiry. I heard songs from outside. And the songs from outside, I heard a lot of them. A lot of songs. But then I heard people say, we want the chairman. And then I heard footsteps. And like people were rushing into the building. And then I heard them say they'll break in the door. And I panicked. The chairman of GECOM, right? The chairman of GECOM, she said, panicked. What was she afraid of? Hold on for the donor. Hold on for the donor. She said, I became very much afraid. Wait for it. I became very much afraid. I said, look, and I dialed Abner Ali. I dialed Abner Ali. And I called her because I was afraid for my life. I thought people were coming to harm me. Them done stugs outside. Now we just showed you, the chairman of GECOM said she thought they were coming to harm her. Beyond January 6th, where's the commission of inquiry on that? Where is the commission of inquiry on that? That's what the chairman of GECOM said. She called Amna Ali as a source of refuge because of the commotion outside. Clearly, she didn't think it was Amna Ali and crew coming to harm her. She said she thought those hooligans and thugs, the done thugs, down outside. She said she thought they were coming to harm her. The chairman of GECOM. Yeah. But today wasn't called the day. I didn't like the way she composed herself as chairman of GECOM. Understand? She looked tired and weary, needing of so much help. You think it ended there? But look, story, you know. Hold on, brace it over. Brace it over. You think it ended? We now start, folks. Look, story. Welcome in the ring. Welcome in the ring. We just start. Look, story here now. Unprecedented. Unprecedented that you have a chairman fearing for your life during the course of an election in the region. And then today, nomination day, cancel. Y'all think y'all had problems in 2020? Folks, we just get it warmed up. You think we had problems in 2020? We just get it warmed up. Them guys who said they know about proper elections management, them guys that said we can put we own CEO there to run the thing properly. But I'm going for y'all. How it looking over the side? Nomination day scrap. Folks, there's so much purgatory, confusion powder. You know, chase with some prostitutes over GECOM. Nomination day has been scrapped. That's all them boys is to governance. The will of the people has been scrapped. For all intents and purposes. Nomination day. How it go for you all of a sudden? Them boys move heaven and earth to bring Vishnu. Heaven and earth to bring Vishnu. Right? He first rodeo, according to senior counsel Roysdale Ford. And soon as he come out, the blocks the horse fall down. It's a thoroughbred we get here, or it's a cab horse? You tell me, the first rodeo, nomination day, has been scrapped. Folks, we went back to the history books. And the folks who know, who got the institutional knowledge, tell us the closest they have seen anything to this. You got to go all the way back to 1992 to see so much confusion in the electoral process like you see now. You got to go all the way back to 1992, folks. Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford, understanding the madness that's happening at GECOM, filed the case before the High Court, challenging them with a dirty list and the wrong list for local government elections, challenging them on the boundaries issue. Spoke with us on this very issue of what's happening at GECOM. And here's what he told us.
Aware that GECOM recently issued a press statement indicating that they would be deferring or canceling nomination date, which is supposed to be the 12th of December, 2012. But I believe at this stage, we are not in a position to really rejoice at this time. The same statement issued by GECOM indicates that at this time, they still intend to pursue the provisions of Section 24A of the Local Government Act to resolve and to correct the list. I believe that GECOM continues to go down a road that will lead to a list which is still not in compliance with the local government election law. The list as prepared by GECOM was not prepared under the local government elections law. No order was made under Section 8 of the local government elections law. They purported to act under Section 5(6) of the Election Laws Amendment Act, which deals with a list prepared under the Election Laws Act and provisions associated with that act under the Representation of the People's Act. So at this time, I believe that GECOM, whilst they would have recognized that the list is flawed, the list is bad, the list is bloated, the list is dirty, and it cannot be used in its current format, I believe that the efforts and mechanisms that they intend to employ to correct the list cannot result in a list which is still acceptable and in accordance with the legal provisions governing a list of register of voters prepared under the Local Government Act. GECOM seems also to have come to the conclusion that the Minister of Local Government could not exercise the power to demarc constituencies within local authority areas. So there are two substantial areas which GECOM would have turned and altered their position in this regard. So the first thing that GECOM should be doing and the Guyanese people should be calling for is a new chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission. We should be calling for a new chief elections officer of the Guyana Elections Commission. They have presided over this catastrophe, this embarrassment, and this mess. So we can't necessarily ask them to correct it. Even in this process of correction, they're still erring substantially in a manner that cannot result in a list being properly in compliance with the law. And in terms of the Guyanese people and what they need to do, they need to go to the regional offices, go to GECOM offices, and point out people who are not in your communities. Every person that remains on the list, every person who's not ordinarily resident in your community is the source of substantial fraud, is the source of potential substitute voting, and that cannot be allowed in your community. The existence of those persons on any list destroys your right, destroys your voice, and destroys your choice. This is about local government elections. It's about the protection of your rights in your communities. It is that under the general and regional election system, the laws were passed, I believe, on the basis of the acknowledgement of a residency requirement. The local government elections law specifically says in a much more greater and clearer way that residency is a requirement for you to exercise your franchise in the context of a local authority area. So there was a great consistency between what the law says or said in relation to residency, both at the general and regional elections level and at the local authority level. And the laws proceeded on that basis. Even Section 5(6), which they're purporting to use of the Election Laws Amendment Act, proceeded on the basis that resident and being resident in an area was a requirement. In 2018, the PPP, through Nandalal, I believe, filed a legal proceedings in the name of Christopher Ram and the Attorney General, when for the first time the Chief Justice concluded that under our Constitution and in accordance with our electoral laws, that residency was not a requirement. So the requirement for an election at the national and regional level no longer included the laws in relation to residency. So whilst residency remained in Section 5(6) of the Election Laws Amendment Act in relation to local government extraction of a list, because that section says that GECOM, if it wishes to exercise its discretion, can use a list prepared for national and regional elections for that purpose. So that requirement of residency no longer existed. So by extracting that list in which those elements are no longer present and applying it to local government elections, where in the context of that law, residency is the greatest determining factor, that list cannot be used for local government elections. Further, it is important to observe that the section under which they purported to act is a section that provides GECOM with the authority, if it wishes, to proceed to extract a list which now is no longer premised on residency, to use it for local government elections, when there is a specific law, the local government election laws, which specifically provide that residency is a requirement. This means that GECOM is being given by these laws the power to determine the qualifying factors for qualifying under these local government elections. Because 2016 election was done on the basis of the Local Government Elections Act, where residency was a requirement. On the basis of the 2018 local government elections, the same thing occurred. But at this elections, GECOM proposed to exercise a power which was never used before in a law passed in 2000. That is why I went back to the little historical analysis as to what it meant in the context of residency. So they're now using a law which now referred them to residency, but no longer refers to residency, to be used in a law now, in a legal regime that requires residency as a requirement. So GECOM effectively, by that change in interpretation of the law by the Chief Justice, is able to determine different standards, different qualifying standards for persons to vote at different elections. If this was allowed to happen at these elections, it would have been on the basis of everybody on the list, because that is what effectively the Chief Justice said. So the next elections, another commission could have said, listen, we want to now go on to the local government elections law. We can't have an electoral system without that degree of stability and permanence and consistency which is required in an electoral law. GECOM can't be the authority to alter at its whims and fancies and its discretion what would be the criteria for persons to be allowed to vote at local government elections.
Thank you, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford. He says, not enough. Just walking back on the mistakes. He said the chairman must go. Pratik Singh must go. And the CEO must go as well. Never seen anything like this. Total calamity. Total calamity. While we're on that, folks, while we're on the same subject matter, you know, we spoke with as well. We spoke with a commissioner, GECOM. Yep. The commissioner of GECOM, Vincent Alexander. He said them boys in a bad spot. Them boys in a bad spot. Commissioner Alexander, what's happening here? Total confunction nonsense at GECOM. Commissioner Alexander, what is happening here? That's what he told us.
One of the issues is the issue of demarcation. The laws of Guyana clearly and unambiguously provides for the GECOM to be responsible for demarcation of constituencies in local government areas. For whatever reason, the minister embarked on that exercise as if he had the authority. When the issue was raised in GECOM, the commissioners appointed by the government said they had done research and had concluded that the commission had acted correctly. We challenged that, presented a counter argument, and the chairman today gave her position, which concurred with our position, that the minister has no such authority, that the authority for the demarcation of constituencies solely resides with GECOM. So that is one issue which is outstanding, which has been resolved. And obviously the resolution of that issue will lead to other things, because it means that any demarcations done by the minister are now null and void, and GECOM will have to address that and to go about doing its own demarcation. The second issue had to deal with the question of the list. We have been saying for the longest while that the preparation of the list should have started with a claims and objections in relation to the voters list for the local government areas, so that objections and claims could have been done specifically in relation to the constituencies and the local government areas. Unfortunately, that is not what was done. The list was prepared in a manner as if they were preparing for a general election, and at the last moment they were now seeking to do some exercise that would facilitate what should have been done at the inception. The CEO, over the last weekend, came to the conclusion that he, in his words, should appease the stakeholders by responding to the contention that what was being done was not affording voters the opportunity to go into claims and objections in the manner in which they should. He therefore brought to the Commission a proposition which he said was partly influenced by the fact that APNU AFC had approached the court. That matter was discussed today. For all intents and purposes, it was agreed that action need to be taken in response to what he proposed, taking into consideration what's before the court, and that action in any circumstance would take time, and therefore we cannot proceed with nominations day as previously intended. There's a possibility, more than likely, we cannot proceed with the date for elections as intended, but the only decision finitely taken was to postpone the day for nominations, subject to internal work and discussions that will then produce a new work plan that will then indicate when we can do nominations vis-a-vis a date for elections. Of course, one may say it's a calamity. I think it has to do in some regards with the competencies within GECOM to have stepped off on the right footing. It also has to do with the fact that some commissioners were supporting what was unfolding and therefore did not lend to the kind of decision making that could have corrected this, because Commissioner Corbyn from the very inception was indicating that they were on the wrong track in relation to the preparation of the list. That in itself led to 7 to 8 iterations of the plan. 7 to 8 iterations of the plan without necessarily addressing that critical issue the way in which it should have been addressed. So we have now gotten to the point where if we go forward, the court may well intervene, and so an attempt is now being made to correct what could have been corrected if GECOM had listened to the arguments of Commissioner Corbyn all along the way. Well, there's a difficulty in calling for the resignation of the chair in the context of what our Constitution provides for. Well, resignation, yes, because that means that she will resign. But the chair is someone who is not removable except for resignation, in fact. And I think that indeed there is an issue here because a chairperson can give leadership to a process that can arrest things which are not going right. And I don't think that that kind of leadership was indeed given to the process. Some weeks ago, I made the point that we have vacancies and that the CEO is overloaded, and being overloaded would in fact allow the Peter Principle to come into play. I think the Peter Principle has come into play because we need to have a DCO, we need to have a voter civic and education manager. Those people are not in place. The CEO is trying to do all of that himself, and separate and apart from his own level of competence, it has brought us to a situation where the Peter Principle has obviously affected the operations of GECOM. One of the issues is the issue of demarcation.
Thank you, Commissioner Alexander. Folks, the list got relation to the boundaries, your constituency, and Darmlal took it upon himself to change the boundaries of the constituencies. Believe it or not, he wanted to change the boundaries to favor them, of course. To favor them, of course. Thanks, guys. To favor them. We spoke with Attorney at Law Royce on the very issue of what they call gerrymandering. You change the boundaries to facilitate your own electoral success. It's wickedness. The wicked stink and dirty. And here is what Senior Counsel Royce Ford, Shadow Minister of Legal Affairs,
GECOM found itself in is that it relinquished the power vested in GECOM to determine the consistency boundaries within a local authority area. A local authority area may stretch for a couple of miles, and there will be constituencies within a particular area. For example, at the press conference, I referred to the Union local authority area in Region 5, and there are 9 constituencies within such a local authority area. What the minister purported to do was to assume onto himself powers to determine where those boundaries exist within a local authority area. So our position is that that power does not vest in the minister. It is an electoral power. And because it is an electoral power, and because of the system that has been created under the Constitution to ensure that we have free and fair elections, we as parliamentarians and as the governments, successive governments, enacted legislation on the premise and on the philosophy that GECOM will be the party who will determine boundaries, because a government is a participant in election. So imagine the government itself fixing boundaries within local authority areas to maximize support in their areas in which they enjoy them and to minimize support in their areas. Therefore, they could multiply constituencies in which they have support and reallocate boundaries, probably covering large swaths of areas, great populated areas, into ramming them into small numbers in a constituency area. So that was why GECOM, I believe, finally came to the conclusion, in recognition of what is really their purpose under the Constitution, which largely GECOM fails to do anyway, to recognize what is their purpose and to act in accordance with its purpose. But these are a few flashes of some degree of recognition of the purpose under the Constitution. But I just want to say to the Guyanese people that I remain completely unimpressed by this newfound consciousness by GECOM.
Unimpressed by this newfound consciousness on GECOM. You know who spoke to us about this very issue as well? Amanzo Walton Desir on this issue of gerrymandering, changing the boundaries to suit their own dastardly political purposes.
The fact is that I believe that they're seeking to gain an advantage. It is not about leveling the playing field. I think it is about gaining an advantage. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean. Now, what we have to understand, and if you were a part of the parliamentary debates, I think the PPP needed to be reminded with alacrity that they do not hold the moral high ground when it comes to this issue. I think their attitude is one of, oh, we are trying to save democracy, etc. The reality is that electoral reform is something that has been called for in Guyana for decades. And so we have to start out on the correct premise. If we're going to use 2020 as the premise for electoral reform in Guyana, then we would have done ourselves and this nation a disservice, because the weaknesses that inhere in our electoral system were there pre-2020. And so we recall a number of instances where electoral malfeasance took place under the PPPC. What they would want for our people, for the people of Guyana to disregard is the fact that these events actually occurred. And so, no, they do not get to, like I said in the debate, be the moral arbiters of this. Now, this is why it is important that Guyanese become involved, because, Sharon, we could go down the road of pointing fingers at each other for the next 20 years. That will get the people of Guyana nowhere. It will get the country nowhere. What we are in urgent need of is sound, well thought out electoral reform. And it cannot be that the PPPC will continue to use the tyranny of its one-seat majority to impose what it believes is electoral reform to the exclusion of the voices of every Guyanese who wishes to have a say. So we have to continue to bring this information to the people. Now, one of the principal issues that we have is the draconian measures and the fines and penalties that are contained in that bill. It is ludicrous. When you look at, for example, the penalties for murder and for rape, that you are trying to equate electoral offenses to those. And so in those instances, the fines and penalties for electoral issues outweigh, for example, the penalties, etc., for murder. There is no legislative congruence in terms of what the PPPC is doing. But we understand that they're using it for political mileage. In their haste to gain political mileage, however, what they are sacrificing is the management of our electoral processes, because those draconian fines and penalties are at this moment deterring capable, competent, qualified people from becoming involved with GECOM. Because if I, as a polling day worker, I make a genuine mistake, there's no room for me to mount that defense. If it happens, you face the consequences. And so people who are capable and competent will be dissuaded from interacting with GECOM. The corollary of that is, or the flip side of that is, that what it does is that it allows people who have political motives and connections to be the arbiters to be the administrators of our electoral processes. And like I pointed out in the debate, Sherrod, the PPP, they've demonstrated the ability to protect those people who they view as their supporters when they do wrong. So if they don't perceive you as their supporter and you're working in GECOM and you make a mistake, something happens, they will say, prosecute that person to the full extent of the law. If their person that they believe support them does the same thing, they will likely say, look, do not invoke legal proceedings, because this is something that we have seen. We have seen them do this. So it's not conjecture. And the other thing is, this is affecting GECOM's ability to man elections properly, because, for example, the PPPC administration objected to 72 officials for GECOM that GECOM identified as polling day staff for the upcoming LGE. The CEO said, look, if I am to remove these people, we will be unable to have elections. So they're creating real manpower issues for GECOM because they're not thinking these things through. At all times, the law must seek to accomplish a balance between the mischief that it is seeking to curb and the effects of the provisions of the law on the proper administration of our elections. And they failed to strike that balance. And I think in the future, unless we're able to change these laws, our elections are going to suffer. What we do know is this, in that in most of the Caribbean Commonwealth countries, the delineation of boundaries is not a ministerial function. It is a function carried out by, for example, their electoral bureau or their electoral apparatus. Minister here to be changing boundaries really does appear to us on the face of it to be in contravention of the law and not in keeping with what the best practices have been in the Caribbean. I know that we have made a number of submissions to GECOM through our commissioners on the map, and they're supposed to be deliberating on that today with a view to returning a decision. The other issue that we have, of course, is this issue of the list that was prepared for the local government elections. As you know,
That being said, folks, apologies. That being said, that's our time and that's our program. Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember to partner with us so we can continue bringing you valid, credible information. You all know we're available via Cash App and Zelle and PayPal, MMG, MoneyGram, and Western Union. Each donation, folks, keep our programs going. And if you all come here, you eat the food, and you don't even tip this great staff, you're wicked, stink, and dirty. That being said, stay safe, share the damn live, smash the emoji button, and let me go down the road. Let me go down the road, folks. Stay safe. Go ahead and have a great rest of the evening. Stay safe.